To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Welcome to the Talk About the Magic podcast, where you'll find inspiration and encouragement tied together with the magic of Disney. Now, here's your host, Joseph Ballesteros.
What is going on, Magic Cheers? Welcome to another Talk About the Magic. Today is Sunday, which means it's time for some awesome one-on-one interview talk with an amazing guest, like we do every Sunday, and today is no different. We got Trisha, Daab, who you may know her from Instagram as the not-so-evil _ Disney stepmom. Wonderful account, but even more wonderful is this book that she wrote. I was really excited to have her on, and I've been reading her book, which to me is just really different. I love it because it's not only a kind of fantastic guidebook, especially if you're a bigger family, maybe even if you're a blended family, but the way it's written is so unique, and this is something that I didn't get to really express when I was interviewing her, but being able to actually read the book now, it's wonderful because it's really a kind of what's a biography. That was the word I was trying to say of her trip, and she gives wonderful tips, obviously, but not just that. She's kind of sharing she is sharing her experience at Disney, and it makes for a wonderful read. And there's adventure. There's not adventures as in like they're going off into the Galapagos Island. I mean, they're going to Disney, but I mean adventure in the sense of what comes up and what they have to do to kind of figure it out. And it's a really good book, very descriptive of the areas of Disney. I mean, it's just Trisha, this book is just wonderful. It's just amazing. I love it. So I'm reading it. I'm deep in there now, and like I said, it's a different take. So the book is called "The Not So Evil Stepmother in the Most Magical Place on Earth." And in today's interview, we're gonna go into why it's called that and everything like that, and how she even got to writing this book. But you can get it on Amazon. You can get it. What's great about Amazon is you get it on Amazon, you get not only the if you get the physical copy, you'll get the physical copy as well as the downloaded ebook. So that's awesome too. So you're able to kind of do get both for the price of one. So all of that, of course, will be in the show notes. I want to get into the interview today. Before we do, though, of course, you want to support the podcast, head over to talkaboutthemagic.com/Amazon Magic. There you'll find everything that Amazon has like normal, and using my affiliate link will help the show so much. Or you can head over to talkaboutthemagic.com/shop. Right now it's just one little kind of CD, which is what I do, my music, but I am going to be uploading more and more, so please be sure to check that out. And if you like the songs, buy it. It would help out the podcast, and hopefully help you to have a good day, because it's music that I took time and care to create. So hopefully you guys can check that out, but without further ado, let's get into today's interview with Trisha. Hello, Trisha. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Joseph. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you on too. We've been following each other on Instagram, and I've really enjoyed your account, and I've seen some really big things happening, and so that's why I wanted to get you on. But just to give a little more background for the listeners, could you tell them who Trisha is?
So I am the proud mom and bonus mom of 5 kids. That's probably, I think, the most interesting and best thing about me is these wonderful kids. I get to marry my best friend 12 years ago, and we have a yours, mine, and ours blended family of 5 amazing, wonderful kids, ages 8 to 27, and they're all Disney fans. This is my first book. This is the first thing I've ever done anything like this. I've never even written a blog for anything except work. So wow. This is a new experience for me.
Yeah.
And my day job, what's actually paying the bills, writing the book is not. But my day job is I'm a healthcare strategist. So I work for an agency, but previously worked in marketing for healthcare companies. So I wrote a little bit, but it was about things like dialysis. Nothing as fun and as exciting as writing about Disney.
Yeah, that's a really big difference there. So we'll get into that, because that's what I was about to bring up too. Your book. I mean, first off, congratulations on completing a very big feat, which is it's no small thing to not only just write the book, but to do the work that needs to get into it, to actually getting it published. Regardless of the way we live in our world today with the way, technology has made it possible, but it doesn't make it easy per se. So congratulations on doing something so grand like that. Let's dive into this a little more. So what was your motivation to write this book? Because you just mentioned something that in my mind, I wouldn't put those two to two together. Like, you're focused, you're doing this with health, but then you say, well, you know what? Let's write a book regarding Disney. So let's get into that. What was your actual motivation?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I have a lot of colleagues and people that I've known for my whole career, and I've been working in healthcare for 16 years now. And so when people are like, wait, you wrote a book about Disney? This isn't what we would think. So, yes, it absolutely. And I'm very fortunate that I have an incredible publisher in Theme Park Press with Bob McLean. So that's what got the book published was working very closely with him and all of his expertise. So we'll probably get into more of that later. My motivation was really, I wanted to create something. I obviously created kids, and they're pretty amazing, but I wanted to create something. I'm not really a hobby person. I'm not crafty at all. And so this was an opportunity to really make something and have this tangible thing that I created, and to just try something new. I've usually get a Disney fix from reading books about Disney, whether it's fiction or, not so much guidebooks, but more just kind of interesting stories and memoirs. I've read the Earning Their Ears series from Theme Park Press. And so I had read a couple of Theme Park Press books back in 2015, and I thought I could do that. I think I could write something. And that was really where it started. And we took a trip in 2015 to Disney World, and I had to plan a vacation for a group of 11. And anyone listening who has planned a Disney vacation knows it is a job. It's a job I find fun, but is a job. Doing it for 11 people, wow, I learned so much. And so I just took a lot of notes while I was doing it. I think in the back of my head, I knew this was coming, and then was able to use those notes to start to create the book. So the motivation was really just, I was like, I think I can do this. And then it became, you have a publisher now and a contract, so now you have to do this. And then just when I would tell people I'm writing a book and I have a publisher, people would be like, what? That's amazing. So that was also a really good motivator in the process, is once I really got into it.
When did you actually start writing the book? Like when did you say, okay, I'm going to really try this out?
Make this book. So we took our trip for 11 in 2015, October 2015. And then in December, that was when I started writing, thinking I can turn this into something. And originally I was thinking maybe I would just do like a photo book with some words in it and make more of a gift for the family. And then one day I was visiting a family member who was ill and came home, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to write a synopsis for this and submit it to Theme Park Press. I'm just going to do it. It was just kind of one of those moments where you're like, you live once, and why not? What's the worst he can say is no? And he didn't, which was amazing. But that was so it really started in December 2015 is where I would say it really started. And then I submitted the synopsis to Theme Park Press in February of 2016. And then that was where I had to start to really kind of finish. And I got a deadline with Bob. And that was where I had to kick into high gear, and I have to write this thing now. So that having a deadline really, really helps. That's a huge motivator in the process. Yeah. So it really overall, I would say, took about just a year and a couple of months, but the writing itself was really from December 2015 to about July of 2016.
Wow. So let's get into, as far as letting listeners know, the Magic Tears know what the book is called, kind of the idea behind the book.
Okay. So the book is called The Not So Evil Stepmother in the Most Magical Place on Earth. I am a stepmom, obviously. I definitely have evil moments, but I'd like to overall not so evil. I think my sons would say I'm more evil than my bonus kids would. And the book is really kind of a mix. It's a blend of a guidebook and a memoir. I didn't set out to write the play-by-play, step-by-step, everything you'll need to know to plan a Disney vacation. There are so many books out there for that are just amazing. I really set out to write something that talked about what it's like to be at Disney with a different kind of group. We are a blended family. We have different ages. We have different folks that we have to accommodate when we're on our trips. We love the food, so there is a lot of Disney food love happening in this book. I love the food. So there's some of that. My husband describes it best. He says it's like sitting down for cocktails with your friend who she's helping you plan your Disney vacation and telling you stories about her Disney vacations while she's doing it. And that's the best description.
It is a very good description. I like that. So, I mean, because to me, the title in itself, I really thought it was interesting because it's a very niche title, and I think that's a good thing. Because, like you said, there's a lot of books out there that just go over the basics of Disney World ideas or vacation tips and stuff, but you're bringing a different perspective of being that it's a blended family that, because like you just said, I mean, you planned a trip for 11, like, oh my goodness, it's a whole different, that's kind of, much more different, than a standard style trip, maybe a 4 or 5. I mean, there's so much more that goes into something like that. So it's a really good, unique look on it that I think makes the book really stand out compared to so many of the other ones that are out there. So, being that you've kind of started this process and you got this book published and everything, I mean, how has that how has that affected you personally? I'm interested in this, and this is something I've actually never really asked a guest. So sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, but this is something that I've been interested in. You have a career, you have a family, everything's great, and you like you said, this was just one of those moments where you said, why not? Let's just see what happens. I think I can do it. Let's see what happens. And then actually something became of it. You got to work. You got to be able to do this book. How has that changed, like, your whole kind of idea, your mindset when it comes to trying to achieve anything in your life?
That's a really good, very deep question.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's great. I love it. I'm glad you asked me that. I actually, before this, was having lunch with a very, very good friend. And this is a friend that we've worked together in very high stress corporate environments. Mm-hmm. So she knows me as this marketing person, and we're traveling all over the world, and we're presenting, and we're trying to build businesses and things. And so this is a person who knows this almost other side of me. And, I pull out this book and she's just like, this is amazing. I have a friend who's published. I think that's really what it is that you have this thing that you've created now, and you've done something that there are a lot of really talented people out there who publish books. There are so many wonderful authors out there and incredible books. But it's amazing how many people that don't know someone that did that. My dad even sent a text and was like, "You're the first one in the family who's published," and it was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." But really, what it's done is it's shown me that I could do it. That this thing that seemed like this thing that other people did. Other people wrote books and are authors, not me. I'm a marketer. I don't write books and things. I do this other thing. It's shown me that I can do it, and that it's something too that isn't that the people are very excited when you tell them that you've done it. I mean, the looks on people's faces when I just show them the book, they're just so excited for you. Even complete strangers. I had struck up conversations with complete strangers about, we're just talking about something else, maybe, at Starbucks or something like that. And it'll come up that I wrote this book, and they're like, are you wrote a book? Can I see it? Do you have it? Can you show me? And, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to look it up on Amazon. And, so I really think it has changed my mindset in, I can do this. This is something that I can do, and that I can create something that's not for work. So I have to create a lot of things over the course of my career. I've had to create a lot of things that obviously very proud of. And then being a mom, you see your kids do these things all the time that you're proud of. You're like, I made that. That's incredible.
Yep.
But this is a different kind of sense of pride. And it's really neat to just see the reaction of people to say, you did this pretty cool thing that is more rare than I think I ever realized. I kind of thought there's 8 million books or whatever it is on Amazon. Yeah. There's a lot of talented writers. This really isn't that unique, but have really gotten a lot of feedback from other people that no, it really is. It's not easy to do. You should be proud of doing it. But it's been exciting, and it's taught me so much, Joseph. I have learned so much about self-branding. I've always been branding other people's products, companies' products, never where you're kind of thinking about you as a product. So there's that piece. There's telling a story that's personal to you and putting it out there. And there's some definitely that can be scary because you don't know how people are going to react. Some people will hate it. Some people will love it. Thus far, I've gotten a very positive response. But the Disney community is a very positive community, which is one of the reasons I felt safe writing a book in this community, and that it is a positive community pretty much filled with people who at their core are good people. So that made it feel like a safe environment to really kind of go out and try something new creatively in that world and in that space.
Well, I love, what you said there. And I was interested to find this out because, like I said, I've never asked this before, and I realized I should be asking this because so many of us, when we have this idea, we have a goal, we have a plan we want to do, we kind of fall in this weird, state where we get in that mindset, like you just said, like everybody's already doing it. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because the point that you brought up, which is something that I think we don't think about, which is that's fine. Everybody you think that everybody's doing this, but the reality of it is that there's still so many people who don't know about it. There's still so many people who. So what's interesting to me is, even though there's maybe thousands, 20s, 30s of thousands of books, even though it's not a real number, but there's thousands of books about this Disney self-help. Everybody who your friends, your family and stuff, they don't look into that. They don't know about that because that's not something that they've taken the time to say, well, let me go search about Disney books and stuff. So when they find out that a colleague, a friend, a brother, sister, whatever it is, has done something like this, they get excited and then they share it with their friends who also probably don't know that there's books that are out there in that sense. And so it's interesting because had you not taken the chance, not only would you not affected your own life, but you would have not affected those around you. And again, it's not just about the book. The book is a great thing, but it's more of, like you just said, I'm a published author. That is a rare thing to say. There's so many people who cannot say that. And to be able to tell other people that in itself is inspiring them because they say, whoa, like she's a friend of mine and she has a job and she does this and that and she's an author. Like, I didn't know that. I wonder what I could do. I wonder, maybe there's something that I could achieve if I, really tried and put my mind to it. And so it's really cool that you're able to kind of change the idea of the idea of, it's not about what's already out there. It's about what you can bring to it. It's about what you can do. And so like when you telling me that, it just excited me because I just realized, like, man, how many people are we not affecting because we think there's already enough out there, and that's such a huge thing to take away because, for the listener, you guys are there thinking there's already a podcast, there's already, books that have been written, but the reality of it is you don't know about the people that you're surrounding that you could impact if you actually did something. And so that's awesome. I love that. So
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
One thing. It's too, and as a mom and a parent, when your kids see you do something like this, that has a huge impact. I volunteered last year a lot. I wanted to share this story with you because I know you do so much with motivation. Mm-hmm. So I volunteered a lot in my son's class last year. He was in second grade, and I volunteered with writing. And so what I was doing was helping the kids with their writing, and the kids at this age, and they were really learning to kind of structure an essay and figure out how do you take your thoughts and turn it into a paper. And when the book came out, I took a copy over to his teacher from last year and showed her, and she was so excited. I think she's probably been at the top of the excitement list for me. But what she did is she said, boys and girls, and this is obviously a different class. My son is in third grade now, but this is a different class. And I knew a few of the kids in her class, and she said, boys and girls, look at this. This is Oliver's mom, and she wrote a book. And the kids were just bombarding me with questions. And so what we were able to do is tell the kids, all those graphic organizers that you fill out, I created one of those to be able to write this book. And yeah, this cover art is so neat and so fun. And this was an artist that I've known her since she was in high school, and she liked to draw in high school. And now she's a grown-up, and she helps kids with learning and using art. And she's who did the cover art. And this group of kids, I mean, especially the girls, they were so excited. All of the kids were, but the girls were asking me, so you wrote this book, and so I could do that? Yeah, you can do that too. I didn't think I could do that, but you can, if I can do it, you can do it. And so I'm able to show that's one of the things that's really been wonderful, is to share that with my kids as well. And for them to see that. And one of my bonus daughters is a very, very talented writer. She's an amazingly talented writer. And so, I hope that inspiration comes to some of them, as some of the kids, of here's things that you can do, because we have 5 very, very creative kids, and there's so much that all of them could do. So I hope that it's an inspiration there too. But people just do really, even kids get excited. My friends, their daughter actually was sitting there reading the book. They sent me a picture of her reading the book on Saturday night, which was it's really, I guess it's not really a kid's book, but she enjoyed reading it because her brother is in it. And so yeah, it's a very good question. I definitely asked, because I hadn't really thought about that. But now you got me thinking.
Well, what I love about it, and you just said something else, and this is where it gets me excited and pumped about, your story and what we do here on Talk About the Magic, because again, you impacted your personal life, you changed your mindset, you changed your thought about what you can actually achieve. It impacted your family's life because they said, oh my gosh, you are an actual published author. And what's funny is, even though you, I'm sure, have made them proud countless times because of your schooling and what you do now as a job, this was a very unique big deal for them. Then you have, your friends who are impacted because your friends are saying whoa, that's so cool. I didn't know you did stuff like this. And here you are, being able to get a published book. But not just that, then you impact a classroom of kids to show not only that, yes, you can, be an author, but even more so, to show why it's important they need the schooling, why it's important. It really isn't because the teacher, wants them to not have any fun and, ruin their day. It's because they really want to teach them what they need to know so they can one day do whatever it is they love, whether it's being an artist, like your friend who helped design it, whether it's being a writer like you who wrote this book because of, your own life situations and what you've, been able to do with that. And then, or whether it's just to get a job in your sense of how you're doing with marketing. And to me, that's what I love about life. We get to see the impact that we create afterwards. And that's a rare thing. I think a lot of people, of course, we would all of us would do something if we knew we were going to impact people. But the beauty about life is you don't know that. You don't know what's going to happen with whatever idea you might have until you try it. And so what I love about it is when you're able to kind of take yourself out of the situation, sit down and really look at what happened, you're able to say, oh my gosh, look what's going on. How many times have you been to a school to talk to children before you were an author about, what they're doing in school and everything like that?
Well, I've been active with my kids' classes, but I've never walked in there with something that I created and could say hey, you could make this someday.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You've been there, but how many times have you been there in the sense of the way you did now, which is this is something that that you guys can achieve. And what it comes close to my heart too is because my daughter is very artistic. She loves doing, art. She loves DIY. She loves trying to create. And what I love about your story is because I know if my daughter would have been in that class and heard you talk, she would come home so excited because she would say, "Did you know? And did you know that I can do that? And did you know that I?" And so what excites me is I think about how many kids went home and told their parents that, which is awesome because now when you think about it, those kids can inspire their parents. Those kids can tell these parents something and the parents say, "Oh my gosh, you know what? I used to have a dream. I used to be wanting to do this. I used to have a goal. I'm going to try it. I'm going to and that's what I love about, your story and about the stories of the others, guests that we bring on, because you just never really know who you're impacting. And I just think of that one split second if you would have just pushed that idea out your head. Now I'm not going to write it. That's dumb. There's already a ton of books. That's silly of me to think that. Like, we would not be having this conversation. The class would not have been inspired because of, what you had done with writing this book. Your friend who literally has gotten her artwork now in front of every single person who ever looks at Amazon and gets, see this book, would have never been able to do this for you. I mean, that's just, it blows my mind. This is why I love doing the show, though, to get you guys motivated because of stories like this. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I went off on a tangent there a little bit. I'm sorry. I'll come back.
It's great. And I just want to add one thing, too, on the publisher side of the world. Bob was a huge help with me, helping me understand why this was a good idea. Because, as we were talking about, there are lots of guidebooks out there. There's guidebooks that cover everything. And they're going to cover as a guide through Disney, better than I could, because there's people that live there. There's people that are trained travel agents. I mean, there's all these amazing people. Disney is so fortunate that they have this guest community that is so within this fan base that loves it so much. But what the beauty of having a publisher behind you and having somebody who's a publisher in that cheerleader capacity is he's able to say, hey, this is a gap in this market, and you have a voice that can be heard, and you have a perspective that there's actually an audience for, and that this will be interesting. So, for him, obviously there was the blended family angle, but the other thing for him was the fact that I was writing so much about the food as well, which there isn't as much. There are guidebooks for the food, but somebody really writing about enjoying the food and loving the food, and what things tasted like and what the experience was like being as a family all together at Be Our Guest, for example, what that experience was like versus Be Our Guest is French style food, which that's really important to know. But what I had wanted to do was to take it a step further and really write about, this is what an experience at Be Our Guest is like. This is what being there with with your family is going, can be like, and these are all the different things that you can taste, and this is what some of it tastes like, and it's really good. So that was another piece, and it is really helpful to have that cheerleader behind you, and that person that knows the industry and was able to help me navigate it, because that is a piece that is overwhelming. This is not something that I knew going into it.
How much research were you able to put into this? Because obviously visiting Disney is not necessarily cheap, but how much were you able to actually to do this? Did you just go based on past experiences, or did you actually have to visit the parks again to really get the idea of what you were going to be writing about?
That's a really great question. Actually, so I am very, very lucky that my bonus dad is a photographer. So I have albums and albums of photos from two of our Disney trips, and then what I did with the book was broke it into 4 experiences. So it's an experience for 7, and that was when my husband and I got married back in 2005. And I had probably like 4 or 5 photo albums worth of pictures, because my dad was with and took just tons and tons and tons of pictures. And then we also had our Disney wedding photos done by the wedding photographer. So I had so many pictures that helped me kind of piece that story together. Then the second experience was when just my husband and I went, I believe that was in 2007 or 2008. And and that was really from memory. I actually had to look back at like conference information from that time because I was there for a conference. So I was like, okay, when is this conference held? When would that have been? And then, it was also able to read on some other blogs about the restaurant that unfortunately is now closed that we went to and talked about that. But so, and some of it's from memory. And then for 2013, the experience 2013, I had a ton of pictures, and it was recent enough that I remembered. And I had taken some notes from my son's journal, and he had journaled while we were there too. Our youngest was 5 at the time. So I had that. And then for 2015, I was the annoying reporter on our trip. I had a notebook and took notes all the time because I'm a little bit old-fashioned in that way that I prefer to write instead of type. So I had a notebook with me on the trip and would make notes, and then I'd interview everybody at the end of the day. So I wasn't like the most loved person in our trip, but yeah, so that was how I was able to go back and pull these memories and looking at those photos. And it was such a benefit, Joseph, to do it because I was able to relive all of these things that I had forgotten. That, this memory that we have of walking out of Mama Melrose at Hollywood Studios. And we didn't know about the Osborne light spectacle. We didn't know that existed. So we walked into Mama Melrose at like 4:30 in December, and so it's not quite dusk yet, still a little bit light out. We walk out and it's nighttime, and we're in the middle of Christmas spectacular and had no idea even there. And that moment, I had forgotten how amazing it was. And writing this book helped me relive some of that magic that you get at Disney. And it reminded me, and it reminded my family, because of course I had to tell them about it because that was all I talked about while I was writing the book. It was really neat to find a way to relive some of those memories. And so it was almost, the book really was a passion project too, because I got to have that selfish experience of getting all those moments again. And you have kids, they grow up so fast, and memories and those moments go by so fast. So to see my bonus daughter, who's now, she was 8 at the time. She was 18 on our last trip. Such a difference that 10 years makes. The oldest, Nate, he was 16 on our last trip, and he was 26 this time, and he had his fiance with him when we were on the trip. And I mean, just such a difference. But just to kind of see those moments and see them kind of next to each other, as I was writing, it was really, really fun because I kind of got to relive that 10-year-old experience again with them when they were all younger, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always find it fun because it's like, I gotta research. I gotta do some research. So
it's like an excuse. I gotta look at this photo album.
Exactly. All right. So before we get into our power round, I do want to ask this question here. So for anybody who's thinking about maybe getting into blogging or writing their own kind of book, what is some advice you would give them? Because again, like you said, you had some experience, but nothing to this extent of actually having to do a book. So what were some things that helped you kind of get yourself situated to start writing the book?
The first step that for me, and I know a lot of authors follow this, is really you have to start with an outline. And I think that's with blogging, depending on the length of the blog, that might be the case as well. But with any idea, you have to, for me at least, I have to structure it. I have to kind of know what am I writing towards, and that outline gave that to me. It gave me a sense of, okay, here's things I'm not going to write about, but it can make it on the outline. It's not a huge time commitment if you're just putting it in the outline. And there were a number of things that hit the cutting room floor that never made it past the outline stage. And then there's the stage where you're writing, and then there's some things that hit the cutting room floor then, and then when you're editing, there's more. So there's like probably a whole other book sitting out there somewhere that I've thrown away. But really, for me, it really has to kind of start with an outline of what it is that you want to do, and to have a goal. To start with, I want to write a blog that by 6 months in, I've posted a weekly blog, or if you're looking into the photo side of it, that you know how many you think you want to do, and being realistic with yourself about what your goal is. So for me, for sales, for example, I am very much can have high expectations, but can be crushed by my expectations very easily. So I've had to really be realistic with myself on what a realistic sales expectation is. And I didn't do this for the money, but that at least gives me something to kind of work for. And it also gets me continuing to talk about it and have experiences like this, talking to you about this great thing that I have to talk about. And it gets me talking about it more. So it gets me going over that classroom and talking to the teacher and sharing it. So for me, it's having that goal, knowing what your kind of the end result that you're trying to work towards is. And for the writing piece, I have to start with an outline. Like I'm working on my second book now. I have to have that outline first, and then it's just kind of filling in the blanks. And it's far less intimidating to be filling in the blanks instead of staring at a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah, outlines, for some reason, I never could get the gist in the sense of like the reason behind it. But of course now, getting deeper in what I've been doing, it's there. Yeah, it's definitely a must because it gives you structure. It gives you the idea of what you're wanting to do. And like you said, if you just have a blank paper like that, I mean, that's the danger because they're so easy to say, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? But if you're able to really get, structured of what you're doing, when, how you're going to do it, it makes kind of your goal, a lot more achievable than just reaching and hoping to catch on to something. And how did that, again, just real quick, how did that feel though? Because, being again that you're new to all this, when you're told, do this again, or you know what, this didn't go the way, this doesn't read the way it should, let's try this again. Especially because, you would have put in the work and everything only to be told that's not going to be in it, or you got to change it up. It had to be a little frustrating at times. So how did that feel?
Well, it's interesting because when you get, so at least in my experience, I submitted the manuscript to the publisher, and I had parts of the book that I felt were really the best parts. That I thought this is the coolest part of this book, and I had actually taken a trip with my son, my almost 17-year-old. He'll go 17 in 2 days, and I can't believe I have an almost 17-year-old. But I had taken a trip with him to Disney in December, and I had printed up just an excerpt of the book so that I could do pictures with it around the park, and I got some character autographs and cast member autographs and things, and I'm going to be sharing it on Instagram, and it's really fun. Like I have, a Olaf sticker in there, and but I had printed up an excerpt of the things that I felt were the best parts of the book. The funny thing is, Joseph, pretty much everything I put in that excerpt got cut by the publisher. And honestly, I can honestly say now it's a better book for it. Having gotten it and read it, it read much faster. It was smoother. It just felt more enjoyable to read. And so that's also an important thing is you create something and you care about it, but you also have to be willing to let the expertise of others come in. And a lot of times the product will be better at the end for it. And so he basically said to me, you have some things in here that are really great content. Write a blog. These would be perfect for a blog, or find a blog, be a guest blogger. These would be perfect for that. But for the book, just to kind of keep things moving at a faster clip, they took it. It had come out. And I would say it was hard. I started keeping a list as I was reading through the revised manuscript that came back of what had been cut. And it was kind of hard. But then when I read the book and realized how much I enjoyed reading it versus the manuscript that I originally sent him that was hard for me to get through, I was like, okay, yeah, it's definitely better. And you have to trust the expertise of someone else. And it can be hard because you're like, that's my baby is hitting, you're taking out the babies. And now I also have probably, a couple months worth of content for a blog. I just need to find one. So it is hard, but it's also make sure that you have someone that you trust that's giving you that advice. And I, somebody who's published hundreds of books on Disney, I can't really argue with them about, no, you don't seem to understand. This is important. This is better. This should stay in. So having that person that kind of knows better than you, be the one to deliver that news is also helpful.
Yeah, I bring that up because, like I said, you take such personal care of what you're doing, and you have such a personal connection. It's it's difficult when an expertise comes in and tells you, this is probably not going to be very good. And I think that's another kind of stumbling block a lot of us face when we're in our goals, when we realize that we have to change something that we don't want to change, and we have this choice to say, okay, you know what, maybe I should listen to somebody who knows. And here's the difference: you're not listening to just some stranger. You're listening to somebody who, like you just said, has published hundreds of books, very successful. They know what they're doing. Yet we can still be stubborn and say, no, this is the way it should be. And unfortunately, a lot of times that is what hurts us. We have to be willing to, we're not giving up our goal or dream, but we're lending it out to let someone else say, you know what, let's make this a little, sharper. Let's make this a little better, with the 100% intention of helping you, do better. So I just wanted to know, because I could only imagine what it'd feel like if somebody, told me something like that, where I just be like, I just spent all this time doing this, and now you're telling me no.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard, but then, he was right, and the great part is, I have all this there's nothing saying that I can't use that somewhere else for some of their purpose, whether it's a blog or whether it's in the second book, find a way to incorporate some of it, or a third book, or a future publication. It just because it didn't fit in this doesn't mean it doesn't fit. It just didn't fit in this. It's kind of like clothes. You have this really great dress. Well, maybe you don't want to wear that when you're going out to Noodles and Company. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean the dress is bad. It just means that this isn't the right occasion for it. Find another occasion. And it kind of that's kind of the way I had to look at it. And I'm very zen about it now, but I can tell you at the time I was not quite so zen.
That's awesome.
But it was better book for it.
That's awesome. That's why I asked, because I like to get the realness of it. I like to find out the truth. And you're right, at the time it wasn't easy, it wasn't fun, but now of course you learn that was probably a better decision. So that's awesome. All right, well, Trisha, it is time to get into our Disney Power Round.
And now it's time for the Disney Power Round, where we talk favorite parks, tips, and tricks for your magical Disney trip. Let's bibbity-bobbity do this.
I'm ready.
Awesome. So, what is your favorite park, and what is one thing you love about it?
My favorite part is Epcot and World Showcase because of the food. Love the food. All the food. Love it. World Showcase, hands down.
Yes, the food is quite delicious for sure. So what would be your tip for that first-time Disney goer?
Well, if you're going with kids of a certain age and size, use an umbrella stroller. I can't tell you how many times I have sat on the monorail seeing someone try to bring in one of those gigantic triple Cadillac strollers onto the monorail. Yep. And they don't fit, or they're trying to get it on a bus, or it takes you 10 minutes to even fold the thing up, and when you folded it up, it's now the size of a large child. Umbrella strollers, I mean, they fold up to nothing. And what I always tell people too is, you don't realize how heavy your 4-year-old is until you've carried them out of Magic Kingdom to a bus, then from that bus to your resort room, which may not be the closest walk. Disney is all about walking. You walk more at Walt Disney World than most people walk in their life, and that umbrella stroller can wheel onto anything. So that's one tip if you're there with kids. The other tip is, don't overschedule. Do not overschedule. You will not enjoy your trip if you think you are going to see everything in one 5-day vacation. I am a big believer in, you have an A and B list. You have the A things, those things that that are must-dos, and you have the B, and the A should not be that much bigger than the B, because if you overschedule, you miss the moments of why you're actually there. You're exhausted. You're just running from one thing to the other. You're not getting to really stop and savor anything. And that's actually one of the things I talk about in the book. There's a Not So Evil Secret and Not So Evil Disney Stepmom Secrets in the book. And that secret number 4 is about ways to get through. How do you get through a Disney vacation?
I love that's a great tip, and I love the title of your chapters. So what would be your tip for someone who goes to Disney multiple times?
Dining is part of the magic, just as much as you love those attractions and those shows, Disney takes all of that work that they put into there. Those Imagineers take all that work and they put it into dining. And so if you see dining as this nuisance that, just food as sustenance, you're missing a whole part of the Disney experience. Also, you're on vacation. This is a time that you might be able to get your kids to try something new because you've changed everything for them. They're sleeping in a different bed. They're not usually walking 10 miles a day into France and then Canada and then China. So if you're changing a lot of experiences, the food is such an opportunity at Disney to experience something new. I mean, you can dine somewhere where there's giraffes walking by while you're eating. That's incredible. And not something you're really going to get unless you're planning a trip to Africa. So there's just so much that you can really get with the dining. And it gives you an opportunity to connect as well. Where when you're just running from attraction to attraction and spending $40 to eat, a hot dog, you're not getting that opportunity to really sit together as a family and engage and talk about what you've seen. And I can tell you from experience, also, seeing your kids try something like butter chicken, which is an Indian dish, for the first time and seeing their reaction, that's an incredible memory right there that will stay with me. So it's also an opportunity to really make memories at Disney too.
Those are some fantastic tips, especially the stroller one. I love that. We've not had that here on the show, so that was a wonderful tip. And because and being somebody who has kids, I in no way am trying to talk bad about people with strollers or anything like that. But it can become a burden, not just the fact that you're carrying it yourself, but also for other people in the sense that it does take quite a bit of room, and so to me it makes more sense, just like you said, the umbrella stroller, because it's quicker, it's easy to kind of move up and down and get to the bus the way it's supposed to be, than some of the strollers. I've seen some massive strollers, and I've seen one time on our last trip, the husband actually got left behind because he could not close it, so he just said, go, I'll catch up. And I thought, like, that's so bad, like, it's terrible. I felt bad for them, but I mean, that was just such a great tip, because I think a lot of people don't think that. They just think, like, my kids need comfort in the sense of, like, this massive strollers, and maybe that's true to a sense, but at the same time, it's like, you can potentially cause more problems by just trying to think that that's what they need, when in reality they probably would have been perfectly fine with that umbrella stroller. So
a really tight post Disney kid will fall asleep in anything.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Definitely true. So I want to make sure to give you some time here. Please let everybody know where they could find you, where they could find your book, all that good stuff, so they can find out more about the Not So Evil Stepmother.
Yes. So the book, the official title is called The Not So Evil Stepmother and the Most Magical Place on Earth. You can find it on Amazon. It's in both print and Kindle. And the cool part is it's a matchbook on Amazon. So that means if you buy the print version, you get the Kindle version free. So you can buy the print version and give it away as a gift and keep the Kindle version for yourself. I am very active on Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram at @NotSoEvil_Disney Stepmom. If you just type in Not So Evil, I think I might be the only one that comes up right now. So for right now, for today, there's always 10 million people joining Instagram every moment. But for right now, if you type in Not So Evil, I'll come up. And so that's really probably the primary best ways to connect with me. I get a lot of email for work, so my email, I am not that great at email. I need to get better. But Instagram, I'm much better at Instagram.
Well, yeah, the cool thing about Instagram is, like you just said, it gives you the ability to interact still. So I know that's how you and I were able to interact, and so that's what makes it. It's a great way to do it, in other words, with Instagram. So it's good that people can find you there. And of course, like you said, I mean, you're active. I've seen that's where you have the book and everything. So definitely, if they were to one day just forget how to get in contact with you or find out about the book, Instagram would be a really good bet to go to. So now,
I want to mention one more thing if I can. I wanted to really recognize the cover art of the book and the artist that did this. I know we kind of touched on it, but I was hoping that I might be able to do that for a second.
No, please, yes.
So the cover art of the book is kind of an interesting story. We had a picture at our group of 11 there in 2015. We got a picture taken with our magic bands. We were so excited about the magic bands. Like, this was one of the highlights of the trip for our group, was that first moment of like, everyone would race each other to open the hotel door because they were like, I'm doing it with this magic band. And then they kept buying stuff with it too, which was wonderful. But we have this picture of all of us with our magic bands. And we really decided early on that the picture didn't make a good cover. But what she did, and she's actually in the cover art, and it's my oldest bonus son. It's his fiance, who will be his wife next month. We're very excited for that. Awesome. She took and created a Disney version of all 11 of us. She created a Disney character version of all 11 of us and put it in this picture where we have our magic bands, and then put the castle behind us. So she hand drew this entire thing and created these characters for us. And then, you know, there's then she did with like a red crayon, put in the not so, and then did an arrow down to me when she put horns and evil eyebrows on me because I'm the evil stepmother. But this when she sent me that artwork, it really brought the book together, and I just love it so much. And a lot of people have really commented on that. So I really just wanted to recognize the artist. Her name is Sam Staldman. She's incredible, wonderful woman. She's actually an art therapist, and just what she did with the book. When I put the book next to the original picture, it's just so neat to see how she brought that picture to life.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully she's listening to this. I'd love to talk to you afterward the show to see if we get her on the show, because that's really cool. An art therapist I've never actually heard of, so that'd be really cool to get into and talk to her about what got her into that. But it is a great cover, and I know that's a question I think a lot of people always wonder about too, and as far as how do you do that. So it's good in your case it was inspired by a real life kind of photo, so that's awesome. So before we do sign off here, if you could I always like to let the guests leave, you know, a parting word of advice or wisdom, encouragement to the listener, you know, something that maybe they would love to hear when they were barely going to start their own journey. But if you could just leave the listeners with some parting words of advice here.
I would say if you're working on anything and trying something new, there's two things that you need. One is cheerleaders. You need to have, whether it's your family, your friends, support system. I have too many people that I could even list. I did an acknowledgments at the back of the book, and then there's, as soon as you write it, you realize all the people you forgot. But you have to have those cheerleaders, because there are going to be days that the last thing you want to do is sit in front of that computer and take more pictures, edit more pictures, or write more blogs, or record another podcast, or write that next chapter. And you really have to have those cheerleaders. And your family and your friends will be so proud of you for whatever you're looking to do. So just make sure you tell people so that you have that support system. And then the second thing is, know that there will be bad days. It's just like any job, where you have good days and bad days, just like any relationship. And that's where that cheerleader support system really comes in, is they help you get through those bad days. And some days this is a bad day, and it's your brain and your body's way of saying, not today. This is not happening today. And I have to be okay with that. And then there's some days you just need that one person to give the right words of encouragement, and you can keep going.
I love that. That's so true. Yeah, sometimes you have those days where you just got to say, okay, today's not going to happen. That's okay. We'll focus, get ready for tomorrow. Yep. I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on, Trisha. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to not just me, but of course, listeners. And guys, please be sure to go check out Trisha on her Instagram, and go check out the book. Like she said, you can actually gift it, which is awesome, because it's a double for the price of one. So you can get it and you read it yourself, but also give this to a friend or a loved one, and spread this kind of, you know, magic that is very real in the Disney community. You know, you were right about what you said, Trisha. It's this community has been very supportive. You know, not just because we're Disney folk, but because I think it's more because, you know, we understand that idea of following a dream, because we all kind of look up to Walt in that way, and so we get excited when we see someone else, you know, pursuing their passion or their goal and achieving it. So Thank you so much, Trisha, for joining us today. I really had a great time. And I look forward to talking to you in the future about another awesome thing that you're going to do very soon someday. Maybe it's a second book or something.
The second book is in process.
Oh, awesome.
But thank you so much for having me. This has been an incredible experience. I've enjoyed listening to your podcast and would always listen to these stories of these people and like, wow, they're amazing. So it's really exciting to be on the other end of this. And I can't even imagine my family is going to freak out when they get to hear this podcast. They're going to freak out.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on. And I look forward again for that. Yeah, we're definitely going to get you on for that second book. So I look forward to that.
All right. Have a magical day.
So Trisha brings up really two good points, which is having the cheerleaders and, of course, understanding that you're going to have bad days. You know, we get so excited for our goals, for our dreams that we set up. And then we get so discouraged when we get a bad day, when we get something that happens, a situation that comes up, and we just are not able to do anything right, it seems. And unfortunately, when those days come up, you know, a lot of times it's kind of the time when we say, well, is this really worth it? I can't do it. It's too hard. And a lot of times that's when we quit. And going into any adventure that you're creating, whether it's, you know, trying to start your own business or, you know, blogging or, you know, weight loss or, you know, doing better at your job, like whatever it is, there are gonna, you know, those days are gonna come when you just are not able to make it happen for whatever reason. You know what I mean? It's frustrating. It's, you know, annoying. It feels like it's not fair, but it's something that's a reality. But that's why it's so important to understand that when you are going into this, you know, whatever it is you're going to do, there are going to be days that just don't go well. And you have to prepare for that. And like Trisha said, having a support system around you is the best way to kind of counter that. Having cheerleaders around you is so important because that's when you're able to really not have any fear in expressing what you're wanting to do. You know, you're able to really get serious and say, this is what I think I should do. And you can count on these people that are supporting you in that way to really listen to your idea and really help you kind of shape it and mold it. And on those bad days, tell you, hey, remember when you said this is what you wanted? Look at what you've accomplished so far. You can keep going. Don't let this stop you. And that's just so major because a lot of us don't have that. And because we don't have that right away, we kind of don't look for it. And we have to remember we need it. We have to look for it. So one of the best things to do, obviously, is if you don't actually have anyone around you, you know, who could play that role for you, the best thing really is to actually reach out and look for communities. I mean, the Disney community is just filled with wonderful people who are so great in supporting and, you know, showing care for what people do. And so, you know, you can reach out obviously to myself and even Trisha, but you can reach out on Instagram. You can find communities there. You can find communities on Facebook. You know, you can find forums online. Look for your favorite website even, you know, and see what that's, you know, what that's like. And you're able to kind of reach out to them and say, okay, you know, I'd like to share some stuff with you guys. What do you think? And, you know, that's the wonderful thing about the community. It's been so open to helping people in that way. So, you know, look for those people. Don't let that be the reason to stop. Don't let not having people surrounding you be a reason to not continue on, because they're there. People are there and they're willing. And like I said, the Disney community in particular, I've had the wonderful pleasure of speaking to many people from there, and they have all been outstanding. You know, they've all been wonderful. They've all been understanding, and that's what's awesome. So, you know, reach out and see, you know, and find community. I can definitely say, get onto Periscope every Tuesday night and check out at Lisa Wicks on her Past the Cast every Tuesday night, and that's the easiest way you're gonna find a ton of people real quick. Wonderful people there who enjoy Disney as much as you, and they, you know, like I said, they have different things. They're not all like, you know, doing blogs and stuff. I know Bianca, who was on the show, you know, she does hairstyling. You know, Disney Lifestyle works with Inside the Magic. So, you know, they have jobs in that sense too. It's not like they're all, you know, wonderfully just working at Disney and they don't have to care, you know, about anything in the world. They got bills, you know, they have responsibility like we do. And so it's wonderful to be able to talk to them and see what they were able to do in their own lives to get them to where they wanted to be, or to be able to get even further along, closer to their dreams. So reach out to them and reach out to different people in the community, and just don't let that be an excuse. You need to have a support system, and you need to understand that when those days come, that aren't so good, rely on that support system to help you get through it. So I hope you guys had a wonderful time listening to Trisha. Like I said, I'm reading her book. It's awesome. It's like you're with her and her family on this trip. So be sure to check it out. Again, the links will be in the show notes. But thank you guys so much. Be sure to follow her on Instagram. Have a great 9-day weekend whenever you are listening to this. I am actually, I'm going to put myself on the spot. Head over to Instagram as well. Be sure to follow me, because I'm going to be doing a different kind of version of the Daily Disney there. Be sure to follow me. It's at Talk About the Magic on Instagram. Okay. It's published, Joseph. You can't do nothing about it now. This is me talking to myself. I have to do it. So Monday, you should see it come up. Have a great night, day, weekend. Whenever you're listening to this, as always, stay magical.
This was the Talk About the Magic podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay magical.